Your girl's in Malaysia. I was invited to speak at a developer conference here in Kuala Lumpur, and I wanted to talk about how frontier AI models, the most leading edge AI models like GPT, Claude, and Gemini, how they get released into production. When I'm talking about models, I'm talking about more than just language models. We're talking vision, agentic, multimodal, the full set of frontier AI. But a new model drops every week, and developers are struggling to keep up. Watching AI development feels a lot like Formula One. The hardcore fans really get into the technical aspects, the upgrades, performance changes. It's really exciting to see models progress, watching them improve in real time, but it's a lot to keep up with. Let's look at the 90-day problem. These are the ELO scores for every major model release in the last 12 months. Meta comes out with their first Llama. Alibaba's on the board with Qwen. And OpenAI and Anthropic are going neck and neck. So we have smarter and smarter models, but the field changes every 90 days. So you do your research, your benchmarking, and 3 months later, what you've learned is pretty much outdated. So if you're a developer, what should you learn? There's a lot of other players involved in frontier AI, but the leading edge models we're talking about are developed by these labs here, primarily in the US, Europe, and China. So how does a new frontier model get born? Most of them follow a similar pattern when they have a new model. They have pre-training, the labs are developing and testing their models privately, and then you have beta testing. This is where models get tested in production before they officially launch. On Ella Marina, the model goes head-to-head with other models. Another example, I saw OpenAI gave Cursor early access to GPT-5 to test it with real users in production. And then there's a staged rollout. Usually it starts with limited access before general availability, and then regional expansion, all before it gets to you, the developer. For most labs, the process is the same. But what they deliver, is it API access only or open weights? And who deploys the model, them or you? That's different across model labs. There's 3 general launch strategies that we see. Until recently, OpenAI used a closed garden launch strategy. You never touch the model. You get access to the API only. They control everything. Meta provides open weights. They say, here's 400 billion parameters, go crazy and run it yourself. Google takes a hybrid approach. They say we'll give you API access and open weight variants. As a developer, which model you choose affects cost, flexibility, and what you can even build. One example of an exciting release from earlier this year was from the open weights category. When DeepSeek dropped R1, an open source reasoning model, it ranked number 1 in hard prompts, coding, and math, and number 3 overall. A Chinese lab had replicated OpenAI's O1 approach and released the full weights for free. Another exciting launch, this time in image generation. The secret codename was Nano Banana. People thought it might be Google because Google really likes their fruit code names, but no one really knew who it was. It was climbing the leaderboards, and they were calling it the Photoshop killer. And yeah, that was Google's Gemini Flash. So by the time a model reaches you, it's already been through private testing, beta testing, and arena testing. But not all models reach all regions in the same way. Let's talk about how regulations affect frontier models. The US is all about self-regulation and voluntary or corporate pledges. And big tech is lobbying to make sure rules don't slow them down. The vibes are move fast for the sake of innovation, and we'll figure out the rules later. Europe's taken the exact opposite approach. They love GDPR so much they made an AI Act. Transparency requirements, risk tiers. It's worth it to move slower if it means protecting people's rights. The vibes are regulate first, deploy later. China cares about control, strict content rules, algorithm oversight, and they're building their own models. ErnieBot, Qwen, GLM. China cares about self-reliance and control. ASEAN isn't developing their own frontier models yet, so they're taking a different approach. ASEAN AI Safe Network. Coordinate regionally for shared infrastructure and shared standards. Build the ecosystem together. Another way to say this, move fast, regulate hard, control tightly, and build together. This difference in policy shapes which models you can use, where you can deploy, and how fast you can ship. The best model for your US competitor might not even work for your Malaysian startup. You have the same tech but different barriers. So we've talked about how a model moves through the release pipeline and how the accessibility of that model depends on the area that you're working in. Where are models headed next? Things are moving really fast, but there's 3 trends that I'm keeping an eye on. Every new model released shows smaller performance gains. What I mean by that, in the early days, models would release with huge leaps in performance, each one topping another. And now the performance gains are smaller and smaller. But it's hard to tell whether or not we're in the middle of an S-curve about to see another breakthrough, or we're approaching a ceiling where all models are converging. In some cases, we already see a convergence. Who's better at summarizing emails, generating code, following instructions? Today's top models are all pretty close to each other, but we're constantly pushing these models to new limits. So right now, we might see general capability tasks converging, but there's still a lot of differentiation in the edge cases. And of course, today's edge cases are going to be tomorrow's standard features. The second trend to keep an eye on is routing. Using your most powerful model for every task is like hiring a surgeon to take your temperature. So when someone types hello and you spin up a frontier model with trillions of parameters, that's dumb and expensive. With GPT-4, you chose the model. Need power? Pick the full version. Need speed? Pick mini. With GPT-4, you were in control of optimizing and picking the right model. With GPT-5 Auto, your prompt automatically routes to the best model. So simple queries go to faster, lighter models, and complex tasks go to deeper reasoning models. Routing's already a thing, but how intelligently you can route impacts cost, UX with speed and accuracy, safety, and agentic capabilities. Which brings us to the last trend to keep an eye out for. We're in the middle of an agentic explosion, but let's take a quick step back to see just how fast we're going. 3 years ago, AI meant chat. Ask a question, get an answer. Then came tool use. AI could call functions, take actions. And now we have multi-step autonomous agents. A tool like Cursor doesn't just suggest code. It reads your entire code base, suggests fixes, runs tests, and then iterates until it works. And they're getting scary good. Scary fast. We don't actually know yet where this tops out. Maybe multi-agent systems, self-improving code? Everyone's just guessing, including me. Yeah, so that was my talk. What do you think is happening next with frontier AI models? And what do you want to learn about next?